Well, good day, viewers. I am Kamal Haynes. Welcome to another special report brought to you by 284 Media. Today, I will be interviewing Territorial at-Large Representative and Junior Minister for Trade and Economic Development, Agriculture and Fisheries, Honorable Shereen Flax-Charles, following her most recent announcement to resign from the Virgin Islands Party. While we will be speaking about the reason behind that decision and the plans she has in store ahead of the next general election in the BVI. We dive into all the details right after a word from our sponsors.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Hun, it's asking for your password.
Huh?
You were logged out. I need the password.
BR,
What's the rest?
BRANDI, the number 4, EVER?
Who's Brandy?
We're like the password that isn't your ex-girlfriend's name. CG Insurance. Good like that.
I should have changed it.
You should have.
You're right.
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, as mentioned prior to the break, Territorial at-Large Representative and Junior Minister for Trade and Economic Development, Agriculture and Fisheries, Honorable Shereen Flax-Charles, has joined us today to speak on a very important issue, obviously a very topical issue that would have developed over the last few hours. Welcome, Honorable. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It was great for you to take time out of your schedule to be here with us. I want to first start with, before we get into those questions, how are you doing?
I am well. I've never felt better. Mm-hmm. It's the best I've felt in the last 4 years.
Okay, and I'm sure following your announcement over the weekend, your phone have been ringing off for various reasons. Speak about that as well.
Well, trust me, the support that I've gotten has been overwhelming from throughout the territory. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. Some of it, I think, came a little by surprise, but I am very humbled by the amount of support that I received.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure your announcement over the weekend, a lot of persons would have been surprised with the announcement, but others would have been expecting that. I want you to speak firstly for those persons, the viewers who are wondering the reason behind that decision. Can you disclose that to the public?
Well, what I would say is that it was a hard decision over many moons. And my values and the way that I think and my actions just don't line up with that of the Virgin Islands Party anymore. I came into the space expecting one thing and it did not turn out that way. Of course, the representing a country is a major task, and I expected it to be tough. But I would just simply say that we parted ways because we were not on the same page.
Mm-hmm. And for you, I know you just gave your explanation, but for others, they may be linking it to the recent announcement last weekend by the VIP Congress, where the Premier Honorable Dr. Natalie Wheatley would have stated that, you know, your documentations as it relates to the submission you would have put forth to represent as an incumbent for the Territorial at Large on behalf of the VIP ticket, there were some discrepancies as it relates to your application, therefore causing your particular submission to be null and void. Did that play any role? Was that the nail in the coffin as it relates to your decision?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. What I would say is that I am a stickler for following rules. I try my very best to follow the rules, and I'm not certain why that decision was made or why they came about to the public with what was brought forth. What I would say is that I've read the Constitution over and over for the Virgin Islands Party, and I followed it to the T. Mm-hmm. So But what I would say to you, Kamal, is that over the last couple of years, I've always been the person to stand up, even though I was standing alone. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything and anything. And my decision was made very clear, based on the fact that we are not aligned with the principles of where I see the country needs to go and how we need to get there.
And the reason I asked whether that would have been the final nail in the coffin for you, because up until last week, let's say, had things gone different, let's say your application would have been accepted by the Congress, you probably wouldn't have been here today, considering that it would have been accepted and then you would have been on the VIP ticket. But following what did transpire a week later, now we are in this particular position. You can honestly understand why some people would assume that that would have been the nail in the coffin as it relates to you deciding, you know what, this is the time that I need to go on my own in a direction apart from the VIP.
Well, I understand. I understand how people would think that way. A lot of decisions are very difficult decisions to make, and I did what I thought was right. I did what I figured would catapult us into a different direction. And I don't say, I cannot tell you that if whatever my submission was accepted or not, whether we would not be here today, because it was not at all based on what transpired last Sunday evening.
Okay, great. And I know also too, based on your statement yesterday, you did mention a little bit about it as it relates to being a stickler for rules and following the Constitution. And as you would have said in your statement, as I'm referring to, you would have had a dialogue or a conversation with someone senior within the VIP Congress, where they would have basically been on your side as it relates to you confirming that you did what you needed to do on your end, basically to fulfill that requirement to submit your documentation to the party. And subsequently, following your statement, there was another release from the VIP Congress, basically standing firm by their initial statement stating that they stand by what they said initially of you not fulfilling the requirement. There was some sort of ambiguity as it relates to information on your documentation. Any final comments on that?
Well, like I said, everyone has a right to say what they need to say to defend their actions. And I based my decision I keep what I've said in this statement to be true and correct. And yes, I did speak with members of the party, senior members, and things did not go in the way that I think they might have expected, or maybe I might have expected. But certainly, I think it is very clear that I follow rules to the T. And misinterpretations, that these documents, the language can be very heavy. But I am quite certain that what I read is exactly how I proceeded. And I followed it to a T.
And during that same press conference, Premier did say you would have had another opportunity at a special convention to basically resubmit your application. My question is, obviously you have made your decision, but even subsequently following that day, did anyone from the party reach out to you of how you could then make the correction to the
No, nobody did.
And there's a reason I'm asking that too, because for some persons are of the assumption as well that maybe that was their way of moving onward from you in a very strategic way. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, I am this type of person. You and I can disagree now, and tomorrow you'll see us down the street having a drink at a restaurant. I don't believe in continuing, I don't like negativity. I want to see positive things happening in the territory. And that is a possibility. what I would say is that I will not be silenced. I prefer to be the lone voice in the wilderness because I know that is what is the best thing for the people of this territory. And examples have been shown of that as it relates to my actions. And I believe that persons feel that once you're with a party, that you must toe the line even though something is wrong. My priority is not to any party, as I've said in my statement. My priority is to the people of this territory. And I will use the example of the situation at the Bats. 4 of us protested, but I knew why I protested. Because it would have created severe economic hardship for persons throughout the territory if that decision was followed through. Secondly, with the situation with the former speaker, I got up, and rightly so, in my estimation, I was not in favor, and I voiced my opinion on that. It is not anything about going against the government. At the end of the day, we have to realize that the people are the government and not the 13 members that are elected sitting in the House of Assembly. And at the end of the day, it's not about me. It is about fulfilling what the people put me there to do, and that is to speak up for them.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that your method of going for the people and sometimes occasionally going against the grain or going against the majority of the VIP, do you think that that would have caused somewhat of some tension within the party that would have resulted in obviously what would have came about last week?
Well, that's natural. It's a very natural thing. Remember, the Virgin Islands are very entrenched in the party system. And so I expected that. But I believe that at the end of the day, each of us, whether I'm an elected member in the House of Assembly or a regular person on the street, each of us has an opinion, and those opinions should be respected. And it is important for us to realize that each of us have a voice. Each of us needs to be able to speak up. This morning, I got a message from a young man. I had a conversation online with him one day, and that was maybe a year ago, and he wrote back and he said to me this morning, he said, you know, I just want to congratulate you for taking a stand. I want to let you know that I'm supporting you because my voice is very small and not there at all. That is what he said to me. And that touched me because I wrote back and I said, told him, don't you ever believe that you don't have a voice. You have to have that courage to speak up. And you also have a voice in me. So that's where I sit. That's where I am going to move forward in whatever I do. And if anybody knows me, I don't know how long you've been in the territory, but I've always been that person to speak up, that person to go against the grain, that person to sing against the government. Whichever government was in power, I would be on that stage speaking as a voice for the people, singing as a voice for the people.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to another aspect of your statement where you would have said that you will still be contesting in the general election come whenever it's called, yes, as well as you're possibly considering a party as well. So with that vague statement, persons are obviously wondering, you know, which party will it be? Will it be a party that's already established? Will it be a new party? What can you reveal about that?
Well, what I would say, Kamal, is that I will be contesting a seat in the next election, which should be very soon. At this time, I do not wish to reveal, but I will say, because I've never hidden it from in 2018, every party that was out there, every alliance that was out there reached out to me. I chose the VIP at the time. The time has come for me to part ways with the Virgin Islands Party, and I did so. Yes, I'm not afraid to say, because I believe in transparency, all of the parties, even independent persons within the territory have reached out to me. And I have had conversations with them because I believe that the values that I stand for, persons look at that. Persons realize the type of person I am. And so there's no harm in speaking with persons and seeing where they sit on the fence and understanding what they are looking for in terms of leadership in the territory. And that I think is very important for the population to understand that you have to be informed, you have to understand the process, and you have to be able to talk to a variety of people within the territory to really get a good picture of, do I go left, do I go right, do I go east or west? But you can't do that by only staying in one lane. You need to be able to understand what the entire territory is thinking. All won't be in favor of me doing what I'm doing, but quite a bit are. And I think that that is important.
Okay, so based on what you just said, I can conclude two things. One, that you already know which party you're going to go with, and two, you're not going to go independent.
Well, I didn't necessarily say that. What I'm saying is that I've been speaking with all of the parties, all of the persons who are aligned with independence, and a decision will come very soon. I don't think it would be fair to the public to keep the public waiting too long, because persons want to be able to understand where I stand in this new phase of my career in representation. Mm-hmm. And so we will be reaching out very soon after consulting with my family as to the direction that I go in, because if it's one thing, I don't make a move without them. I would go a step further to say that some of them do not want me to be involved at all in this particular political space. However, I think that it is important that the people who have placed me where I am now, that they are able again to have an opportunity to see what else I can do, how else I can represent them. Mm-hmm. And so I will leave it at that for now, but I'm not the type to hold that, keep people in suspense. And it's been very heartwarming. The young people have surrounded me based on this decision. Persons who I didn't even realize had my number, or they called, they got my number from my sisters, brothers, etc. And persons are really grateful for how I've looked out for the population, whether I was successful or not. But the important thing is that they know that I try and I will never ever abandon them.
Mm-hmm. My next question, of course, a lot of persons are wondering, will you be vying again this time for at-large representative in the upcoming election, or will it be another district that you will be going towards, maybe the 9th district, to contest? Have a decision been made related to that?
What I would say to that is that decision will come when the announcement is made very soon. What I would say, though, is that an overwhelming amount of persons on both ends of the spectrum have indicated where they want me to go. Mm. And it is because I can safely say, Kamal, that there's no representative that has traveled these Virgin Islands in the last 4 years like me. And so I understand the needs of the people. I understand what needs to be done. And a decision will be made, but evenly on both sides, overwhelmingly, persons are looking for me to contest the at-large seat and the district seat as well, which would, of course, be the 9th district, because that's where I live. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, I can safely say, and I'm not one to boast and brag, I'm a team player. But I have been able, there's not a month that goes by that I'm not either in Anegada or Jas Van Dyke or Tortola. I live on Virgin Gorda. And I take pride in that, in making sure that the people are able to see me, to talk to me, to be able to say, you know, this is the challenge that I'm faced with. The people in Jas Van Dyke especially, they are like totally amazed. How can you get from Virgin Gorda to catch that 8 o'clock ferry from West End? Sometimes I take the 6 a.m. to Trellis Bay, drive all the way to West End to catch that ferry. And it is something that I do because the people depend on me. I do the same with Anegada. I brave the waters. Sometimes on those ferries, they're crowded because it's what we have. The water gets very rough, but I still go because I know those people depend on me. I'm here literally 3 to 4 days a week on Tortola. And that is a commitment that I have for the people of this territory. Wherever I go, whether it be a district or an at-large rep, I will represent the same way for the entire territory.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you're going in a new direction, new party. That announcement will be made soon, hopefully. Are there any concerns as it relates to you would have been last elected under the VIP ticket, and as you would know, a lot of persons then wanted a shift in government. Now we're going, VIP will have a second chance to contest. You will be under a new party. Are there any concerns now that you wouldn't have the support of those persons who initially voted you in under the VIP ticket?
Well, what I would say, whether I am with a party or if I'm independent or with some sort of an alliance, I am not very concerned. Yes, a lot of people vote party lines, but if you've been listening to what's in the air, a lot of persons are looking for the individuals that they feel can best represent them. And so I would be very clear. There are persons who have said to me, they were not a VIP, but they voted for me. There were persons who said, listen, I was a straight NDP and I didn't vote for you, but I have seen a difference, and so I pledge my support for you and I'm going to vote for you. Same with the PVIM. Persons who look for that person who has the overall quality that they're looking for. And at the end of the day, the public seems to be wanting persons. And it's been said many, many times, who are go-getters, who are leaders. A lot of people are looking not to vote party line, so much so. And for me, even if I am to go with a party, it's going to be based on the values that I share. We have to have a common goal in mind. And a lot of that has to do with honesty and integrity, transparency, and looking at the BVI, the Virgin Islands, as a whole. I think that is where a lot of persons have fallen short. The BVI is a multi-island destination, and we need to look at it holistically and not just based on individual islands. And so that is why a lot of times you would hear me asking, what about something in Eastern? What about something in Seacoast Bay? What about Jas Van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, and Anegada? And we have to become, one hand cannot clap. When Virgin Gorda sneezes, Tortola catches a cold and vice versa, and we need to. That is the whole emphasis of anything that I am going to move forward with.
And what about those, I need to get your thoughts on those persons that believe if a person doesn't align themselves with a party, for example, or if their party doesn't get back into power, well, that representative can't do anything for me. What is your thoughts on that? Because we do go forward now, as you've been hearing in the political atmosphere recently, a lot of persons have been talking about moving away from party politics, but yet it's a party who ultimately wins the election, and therefore who has the power to then create the rules and laws of a territory and the policies and the different initiatives. And obviously, opposition tend to have limited power, if any at all, when it comes to making some sort of change or advocacy towards a particular group of people, etc. So what is your thoughts on that? You know, you did mention in terms of people going towards the individual person as opposed to voting per party. But let's say you choose whatever party you choose and it doesn't, you get re-elected, but your party doesn't. How can you still represent the people?
Well, I will continue to do what I've been doing, lobbying, making calls, doing whatever it takes to allot whoever might be a minister to what needs to be done. Now, what I would say is that the constitutional review is very important, and those are some of the things that came up. Because a lot of people did not realize that when you sit on the backbench, even as a junior minister, your role is very limited. And for me, we need to move towards a larger cabinet, because at the end of the day, the majority of persons in the cabinet is 3. So at the end of the day, you have a cabinet with 5, plus the governor sits in cabinet and doesn't vote. So you have 5 people that vote. 3 of those persons make up the majority. So if you have a 3-2 split, in actuality, 3 people are making the decisions for this country. And I don't think a lot of people realize that we need to move away from that whole system. And yes, persons do vote along party lines, but in the last several elections, the trend has been that you vote, some persons do vote along the lines of individuals and who they think are able to move the agenda of the BVI forward. Mm-hmm. And I think that is where we seem to be headed more so. And yes, you need 7 in one party. Or if you have a situation where you have, let's say 5 and 4 is 9 and 4 is 13 split, there has to be negotiation. And that is where it will become very interesting, because at some point you have to form a government. And if we don't come together and do that, then based on my recollection, the governor would be the one to make that decision. And that is something we need to decide our own destiny. Mm-hmm. We need to decide what we want as Virgin Islanders. And so teamwork is very important. And I've played sports mainly in the USVI, here a little stint here and there, but teamwork is very important. And I think that is one of our biggest downfalls, that persons don't work together as a team, but we have to pull that back, pull that rein in, and know that we're on the edge of catastrophe if we don't work together. Mm. We have been a people that has always been independent in spirit, and we all act as if we're an independent country. And we can't go back to where we were 50, 60 years ago. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that we decide our destiny here in these Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm. And my final question is, your announcement would have been made officially on Sunday. Today would have been somewhat of the first day of the working week. You would have already had a speech at the opening of the Market Square as the Junior Minister for Trade, Economic Development, and also Agriculture and Fisheries. How does that decision to resign from the VIP, or does it affect your portfolio as Junior Minister?
It doesn't affect my portfolio, unless, of course, if the Premier decides he wants to remove me, and then him and the Governor would have to have that discussion. However, we all must remember we do not have a VIP government. Mm-hmm. We have a unity government, while the Virgin Islands Party holds the most seats in the unity government. It is not a Virgin Islands Party government. And so I do not expect to be removed from my portfolio. I know that persons are very concerned. The Premier and I spoke yesterday, and as a matter of fact, he's invited me to go to the agricultural fair in St. Croix with him, which I believe is sometime next week. So I don't expect my portfolio to be changed, and I continue to work as hard as I can for the territory. If persons remember, I moved from tourism to trade, and I continue to work as hard as I could for the people of this territory. So I expect to remain where I am until the House is dissolved. If something changes, I will still continue to work for the people.
Okay. And lastly, any final words for the viewing public, for the Virgin Islands people? Any final words at all?
Well, I just want to thank everyone so much for their support. It's been overwhelming. I just want to say to the general public that I, Shereen Flax-Charles, pledge to walk with you endlessly for the rest of my life. I want to be able to serve the people of the Virgin Islands in whatever capacity. But I expect that when the general elections roll around, that persons would support me based on the fact that I speak for the people. I will not be silenced, and even if I'm the only one standing, I will stand alone to support the people of these beautiful Virgin Islands. Thank you, Kamal, for having me.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for coming to 284 Media as the select news outlet to get your message across, and also to answer a number of questions to the people. Obviously, a lot of persons wanted answers, and they would have gotten answers, hopefully. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, you heard it. Until next time, I am Kamal Haynes. Hope you enjoy the content. Bye-bye.